Aloha, I'm Jordan Sonner, your Hawaii Realtor, and today we are going to be talking about the difference between septic and cesspool. This is a question that I've probably answered 10,000 times in my career so far. Anytime anybody from the mainland, or sometimes even the other islands, are looking at houses out here, they will see mentions of cesspool or septic, and it is foreign to a lot of people, especially people in metro areas. So we're going to break down the difference between the two, the benefits and drawbacks, and some of the legislation that's come up in the last few years regarding them. Okay, so a cesspool is essentially a big hole that's dug out in the ground that then is capped with concrete. So the drain from your house drains into the big hole that's capped. A septic tank is an enclosed system, so it's got its main holding tank, which usually is 1,000 to 1,500 gallons, which then, as it fills up naturally, goes into a distribution box, which then flows out into the leach field. So the difference between the two really is that a cesspool puts your untreated waste directly into the ground, and a septic tank processes it and breaks it down and releases it cleanly back into the environment. So in areas that have a lot of cesspools in a dense neighborhood, or in more critical areas, close to the water, we started to see the issues with ground pollution because of them years ago. And that is why our county switched over to requiring septic systems. So if you're looking at purchasing a house from the 90s or earlier, there's a really good chance that it has a cesspool and not a septic system, unless that cesspool was upgraded to a septic system by one of the owners, or it's on the county's limited county sewer system, which there are not many properties, residential properties, that are. If you're not sure if your property has a septic tank or a cesspool, look for the clean out sticking up out of the ground. That usually means that you have a septic tank, or if you have a cesspool, in dry times, the grass will probably get brown that's on top of it more quickly, or you'll be able to see a bump in the grass. You can also go down to our county's wastewater department and see if they can pull your cesspool card. The wastewater department here is very hit or miss. The likelihood of them having your card on file, depending on the year your house was built, I'd give it a 70-30 chance. So there are some pretty glaring differences between septic tanks and cesspools. This shouldn't necessarily dissuade you from buying an older home that has a cesspool. They have been functioning for decades and generally do not fail. But if you are planning on keeping the home for a long time, the county did put a rule into effect a few years ago that all homes with cesspools will have to be converted to septic by the year 2050. So there's a possibility that this could be an expense for you down the road. At this point, we're still 28 years away from that. But you never know what could change in the future. And the closer the time comes to that, my guess is the more expensive it'll be to change it over, because the higher the demand will be. So you need to, factor in that you're going to spend an additional probably $10,000 to maybe even $30,000 doing this conversion when the time does come. Now, that was just a very watered down kind of comparison of what the cesspool and what a septic tank is. If you want to get into the science of how it all works, please consult the internet, not your realtor. If you guys have any questions about cesspool or septic, or if your property has one or the other, let me know. Happy to help. Aloha.